Assalamu alaikum everyone and welcome to the Health and Fitness Show on Inspire FM. Today it's hosted by me, Lamisa, and our main topic for today is discussing the importance of mental health. And we're very lucky we've got our guest Holly with us today. Holly, do you want to say hi?
Hello.
Essentially today's going to be discussing the importance of mental health with Holly and the organisation that she's founded. Let's get into it. So, Holly, kindly tell our listeners about yourself and what led to your passion in promoting good mental health.
Yeah, so I'm 21 years old and I'm diagnosed with ADHD, generalised anxiety disorder, health anxiety, OCD, tic disorder, and have previously suffered with depression.
Yeah.
I have struggled with mental health my whole life. It became apparent to my parents when I was 6 years old, and from then I've been in and out of counselling and different types of therapies and other support groups as well.
Yeah.
I specifically started promoting good mental health after I suffered a major relapse in 2024 during my nursing degree, which I unfortunately had to abandon. But I've always been passionate about it and vocal on how important it is.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, considering your experiences and everything that you've been through, how did that kind of lead you to start Mental Health and Me? And what types of things does the foundation kind of do? And why do you think that it's necessary?
Yeah, so Mental Health for Me is a community interest company, meaning we're a non-profit, not-for-profit organisation.
Mm-hmm.
So any profit we make is then regenerated back into the organisation for us to benefit the community. Right. So my mission, which is shared by the other board directors, is to be the person I needed to listen to me and advocate for me, support me and change things for me when I didn't have the understanding or energy that I do now to have that fight.
Yeah.
We are set on making a difference by supporting those in need, empowering those who feel unheard and transforming how society views mental health, but also how the system treats those in need. So Mental Health and Me offer educational talks which are based completely on lived experience and are not a training session, but instead provide people with reassurance that they can get through their challenges and also that they aren't alone, because many people do feel like they're in their challenge alone and that they have to fight alone and they don't.
And they don't.
No.
That's very, very true. And I think that's such an important kind of mission statement, I guess, to have, in the sense that so many of us nowadays feel like we're alone and we have to go through our struggles that way. But actually there are so many helpful organisations out there, just like Mental Health and Me. Yeah, it's great to hear that. So reading your mission statement, there is an aspect on raising mental health awareness in schools as well.
Yeah.
So did your own experience in a way shape your views on mental health education and the way it's done kind of in our system in the UK?
Definitely, yeah. I didn't have a very good school experience at all. People often said to me, you'll miss your school years, everyone does. And I can honestly say I don't miss any of it. I walked out of the gates in 2020 and I haven't looked back since. My parents actually made the decision to help me get signed off school by CAMS, which is the Child and Adolescent Mental Health Service. Psychiatrist Dr. Chowdhury around 13 years ago, because it got to a point of life or death. And I think the fact it took until I was 21 years old to be diagnosed with ADHD is very telling about how much I was, or rather wasn't, listened to, supported and understood whilst in school.
I see. And what are the kind of major gaps that you kind of felt were there? And how do you feel like, you know, we can kind of fill in those gaps to address mental health?
So in my experience, the school system is very academic based. Unfortunately for me, I'm not very academic. I am smart through creativity. So I was good at drama, singing, music, all those sorts of things. And I'm medically smart, which is why I've gone into a healthcare career. But I could not physically sit in a classroom for however many hours a day, listening about Sing, Cos, Tan and all the rest of it. It's just not what I am able to do, and it wasn't beneficial to me. I was often penalised for my skirt shape or my makeup and my jewellery, but none of that had an impact on my education. It did, however, have an impact on my mental health, because I was a teenage girl going through the changes and feeling very insecure. I agree that discipline is necessary, but if students feel comfortable in their uniform, then they're more likely to engage more in school. I believe schools need more knowledge, more understanding and more resources to help improve and maintain students' well-being.
Yeah, I think that's very true. And I feel like that's such a pertinent conversation nowadays, with the idea of not having enough resources when actually they're so needed. And it's difficult, but I think trying to kind of think of ways to overcome that challenge is important. I think that's where we're coming to finally, realising that there's a gap there and trying to fill it.
Yeah.
So how did the idea for Mental Health and Me go from a personal passion to an organised foundation? How did you kind of bring it to life?
It literally happened overnight, I
Really?
think. My pain became anger, and I knew that something needed to change. So I started working on a business plan, and I recruited directors, and then I registered the company.
I see.
I remember it vividly. I was sat on the sofa with my dad. It was
Yeah.
when I was signed off from my nursing degree, and I was explaining how upset I was that I'd had to give up the dream that I'd had since I was a child because I wasn't being supported, and because I was different to the neurotypical people that were in the same environment. So kind of pushed to the side, and my dad told me, well, do something with that anger, and so I did something positive.
Yeah, that's great. And so how did you what was that whole process like in terms of, going from that concept to being able to get the board of directors and sign the company? Was it quite challenging, or did you feel like, it was something that was manageable?
It was challenging at times. There were certain things that took a lot more effort than I'd anticipated. I think it took around a year for us to register with Companies House and to have the directors on the board.
Yeah.
And I don't think people realise that just because we're a community interest company, I've actually had to spend a lot of my money on building the company. I am fortunate enough to be able to claim some of that back as a director's loan, but I also want to give into my company, of course, so I have donated quite a lot of time, effort, resources and money to be able to make it work. But it's something that I want to do to help everyone else and to also help myself, so I'm happy to do that.
Exactly. Wow, it's amazing to kind of hear the story from there on. But in terms of key moments, I guess, people or stories that kind of pushed you to act on what you had also faced, is there anything that kind of sticks out?
I think the nursing experience I had in the NHS definitely pushed me to act more than I already wanted to.
Fine.
I wasn't heard, and it honestly broke me. They wonder why there is a shortage of nurses, but they can't look after the ones that they have, or the ones that are prepared to do an already challenging job.
Yeah.
That's definitely the moment that pushed me into doing this.
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot of things. I've seen family members struggling with mental health. I've experienced a lot of discrimination. And I've also got friends that struggle with their mental health. And I also see small children online suffering with their mental health. And there's no one's doing anything. No one in power is doing anything. So that's why that kind of forced me to do something.
I see.
Because I want to make that difference for them.
Yeah, I think especially in healthcare, it's such a demanding job anyway, and the things you have to deal with, and essentially being in that role, you are supporting so many others through the challenging experiences that they're going through, and yet at the same time, so many people that work in healthcare don't get that same support themselves. I feel like it's almost like an attitude in healthcare sometimes that you see that people tend to try and bear the brunt of whatever's going on and try and push through.
Yeah.
Because we're so used to being there for someone else.
Yeah.
I think that's the heart of the issue. But actually, we need to figure out that the role is stressful. You can take time for yourself, and you should.
Yeah.
And you should try and seek help when needed. But yeah, it's good that we need to start getting that message out, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
More and more. How did you decide what groups or educational levels to focus on?
I think, again, my experience did shape a lot of it. I had friends that were struggling in college. I struggled in school and in the NHS. I've got family members that are in emergency services elsewhere and they're struggling. And I know parents that are struggling to best support their children who are suffering. Quite a lot of parents that I know are struggling with how to cope with their child that's struggling. And my parents were in the same position when it was me, and I know that they struggled a lot to know what to do with me. So I want to be able to give the advice based on lived experience that we've got to help other people in their journey, because it's a big added stress onto what you're already dealing with.
100%. That's something that's not really talked about as much, is the effect that it has on people who are supporting. So it's great that you're also covering that base as well.
Yeah.
Was there a particular moment when you realised that the foundation was starting to have a direct impact, maybe something tangible that you can talk about?
I have received a lot of lovely messages, including from people up the north of the country, which shocked me. But even more so, I've reached a few people in Scotland that have reached out. So that was like a big wow. I've gone out of England. I have people reach out and ask for my advice, and people reach out to thank me for the content that I share, to say that it's helped them. And I think those messages are the things that keep pushing me to do what I'm doing, and they are the moments that I realised I'm actually making a difference.
And what kind of events had those people kind of been involved with for them to like reach out? What were the types of things that they were getting involved with?
So a lot of our work in the early stages at the moment is campaigns and sharing content online. So the first campaign we did was with Luton Town Football Club.
Oh, okay.
And that was on World Mental Health Day last year, which is in October.
Nice.
And they helped me to promote mental health in me, and we kind of discussed how people in a position of fame aren't excluded from suffering with mental health. And I think that's something that isn't talked about often enough. Obviously, unfortunately, players do experience discrimination from fans sometimes for their race, religion, or whatever it is, and that has a detrimental effect on their mental health.
Of course.
But their mental health isn't spoken about enough.
I see. Wow. That's great that you're working, you know, not just within the kind of areas that we know as regular people, but I guess in sports as well, which isn't an area that a lot of people talk about. So yeah. What kinds of programs does the foundation currently run at the moment? So that was for World Mental Health Day last year. At the moment, what have you got going on?
So at the moment, we've got a few fundraising events. So this evening, actually,
nice.
we've got a quiz night going on, and the donations will go towards mental health and me and be used to benefit our mission. And we are working on a few projects at the moment. We're working on a football fundraising event with Elevate FC in Dunstable, and we're also working on a few things behind the scenes with Talking Hatters, which is a sort of community group that meet on Zoom every Sunday in partnership with Luton Town Supporters Trust. It's run by Mark Crowther.
I see.
And yeah, we're doing a lot of behind the scenes things, talking to Mark and planning events and that. We also were recently at Luton Comic Con. We are very good friends with Wade, and so we were there, and we just attended the X-Force for Men event in Luton. So we're kind of networking at the moment and planning on the sort of things we're going to do, the projects we're making. Another project we have in mind at the moment is making care boxes for hospital wards, inpatient wards, and also donating resources to schools. That's something that we've already started. So we've got 2 local schools that we've donated some stuff to, one of them to use in a sensory garden for the children. And then also we've met with another school, and we're delivering some talks with those students and also the staff to help them help the students better.
I see. And the sensory garden is quite interesting. What's the kind of, I guess, research behind it, or how does it help kids?
Yes, so it's proven that nature is a very good thing for mental health, especially the colour green. And this particular school is a special needs school. And a lot of those students are similar to me, where they can't be in a classroom for 8 hours a day or however long it is.
Yeah, of course.
So it'd be better for them, or beneficial for them, to be able to have somewhere that they can go and use all their senses to regulate themselves and then be able to re-engage. It's really important for kids in school to be able to have some regulation time and get back to their grounds, and then be able to go in and out of their lesson as they were. So we haven't actually worked on the grass or anything. We've met with the caretaker and the head teacher. We donated a few tactile things for the sensory garden. So I think we donated a fuzzy snail. So when you you can touch it, and that's one of your senses. We donated a mirror, a bird bath, a wind chime. And sort of all things like that that will just benefit the children in that garden.
Yeah, so they can take a moment when they need to. That's That's amazing to hear. So how do you work with educators and school leadership to get these types of programs in place?
So I usually email the school's specialist educational needs coordinator or their safeguarding lead and explain who we are, what we do and how we do it. Once I've had the initial discussion, I go and meet these staff and see the environment that the students are working in, and I then come away and arrange an assembly for the students and use a questionnaire to identify any hot topics that need working on, and then feed these back to the staff in a similar discussion. The questionnaire is anonymous completely, but it just helps me to gather data so that I can use that in my research to feed back to the government and other NHS agencies in what needs to be done to support young people's mental health and adults' mental health. And it also helps me to identify what needs working on with that particular school or educational place. I then go in and present this to the staff and share what helped and what didn't help me during my time at school, and then offer to donate resources such as beanbags, fidget toys, and explore other ways that we can help tailored to the areas that need work. So it really depends on what is found and what they're struggling with and what I can pick up. And then it's really tailored to what support I can offer and how it can help them and what they want from me.
Yeah. You said that you're also gathering data which you feed back to the government. So is Mental Health Me kind of undergoing any research projects that they're doing at the moment?
So I wouldn't say it's under Mental Health and Me fully right now. Personally, I'm doing the research.
Got it.
Trying to gather the data through anonymous questionnaires with the students so that I can then feed it back to the government. I've approached them a few times as a child and not got much back from them. But if I've got data to back my claims and I've got the evidence there, they can't bin me off anymore. They have to listen to me.
I see. Yeah. I mean, having, qualitative data or any type of data to actually show that this is maybe a gap, or this is where, we could improve, and then going forward from that always helps to kind of identify where the areas are that need work. So it's great that you're going about it in that way. Go for it.
Sorry. I think it came off the back of, there was a government petition launched a while ago, and I signed it, and it was demanding the government to take action for the care that's provided to mental health services from the NHS and government.
Right.
I actually got an update this morning from that petition, and the response is very AI generated, doesn't at all target the whole point of the campaign, and instead tells us how many NHS nurses and staff they are bringing in, recruiting, and all of their funding that's going into the NHS.
I see.
That isn't what was asked. It was asked for the training so that staff can focus on those with mental health issues.
Yeah.
I've experienced it going into A&E. Yes, the doctors know what they're doing with my physical health, but not a lot of them have bedside manner, and not a lot of them know how to deal with my anxiety or my ADHD or OCD or anything like that. And I dread to think that I would have to stay in the hospital one day with people that don't know how to deal with me.
So your petition was there to kind of essentially advocate for more training from the mental health side of things for healthcare workers who deal with this type of thing every single day. But you felt like the response wasn't fully tailored to what you had asked. But your data is kind of looking to see where we can improve from that side of things as well.
Yeah.
I think it's so true. I think, the mental health, I don't want to say burden, but the mental health challenges that people come forth with in hospital as well has increased. And I think part of it might be because we're all more vocal about it, which we should be, but it means that we need to therefore have the resources to be able to help. And you're right, I feel like an area which isn't kind of looked at as much is the fact that our healthcare workers need training from that side of things as well.
I believe there was some data a little while ago that it's currently a 12-hour wait for a mental health crisis in A&E at the moment. It's just not good enough.
Yeah, very true. So a lot of work essentially that needs to be done.
Definitely.
With regards to kind of your foundation, is your team made up of kind of educators or mental health professionals, or kind of a mix of both?
So our team is based completely on people with lived experience, either as someone who has struggled with mental health or knows or supports someone who suffers with their mental health, and has the passion to make a difference. We all share that same passion.
Fine. And have you, so just coming back to kind of the work that Mental Health and Me does, have you noticed a change in the way that students or teachers kind of approach mental health since you've been working with them to kind of talk about mental health a bit more openly in schools?
Yeah, I mean, it's very early days. However, I've definitely had teachers who may not have experienced mental health challenges acknowledge how difficult my school experience was and recognise that nobody should ever have to go through what I did, and be very open to accepting our support, which did come as a little bit of a surprise just because of the experience that I faced. But I'm glad that it was received positively. There hasn't been resistance as such yet. However, communication back from schools isn't always quick or smooth. So I try not to dwell on it too much, as they are very busy people and it has just gone into a new school year, which is stressful enough for the staff and students. But equally, this is the time that they probably need our support the most, and communication is one of the biggest issues I personally believe schools need to work on improving.
I think also, I guess it's a long-term thing. At the end of the day, mental health is something that, is super important to everyone, and it's something that, with regards to schools, I guess is something that needs to continue as a child goes through all of the school years.
Yeah.
And it's something that we would hope would be incorporated as years go on into the curriculum. So I guess it's a long-term kind of commitment from both sides, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Cool. That basically brings us to the end of the first half of the show. So thank you so much, Holly, for kind of giving us a bit of an introduction into Mental Health and Me and kind of the work that the organisation does. Please do join us after the break, where we'll be back to discuss, the importance of mental health with Holly. So yeah, please do join in after the break. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Find Luton Prayer and Masjid Jamaat times at inspirefm.org.
Assalamu alaikum everyone, and welcome back to the Health and Fitness Show. Today you're hosted by me, Lamisa, and our main topic for today is exploring the importance of mental health with the founder of Mental Health and Me, Holly, and she is with us today. Do you want to say hi?
Hello.
So before the break, we learnt a bit more about Holly, her journey, and what inspired her to actually start Mental Health and Me. We also discussed a bit about the gaps that are definitely present in mental health care, and kind of how we can address them a bit more, and what Mental Health and Me essentially is doing to try and address those gaps. So we're going to continue our very interesting conversation in this second half, and get straight back into it. So one of your initiatives involves providing distraction activity boxes, which you touched upon in the first half, to patients in inpatient wards. So can you tell us about how that idea essentially came about?
Yeah, so again, this mainly came from my experience on working on inpatient wards, and seeing how stretched the staff are to really spend time focusing on patients' mental health and not just their physical health. And also, because I suffer with severe health anxiety, even entering A&E, I begin to have panic attacks, and a distraction would make such a big difference, but there just isn't any available. They have just introduced quiet spaces at our local A&E.
Okay.
Although this is outside the X-ray area.
Right.
So it's not a designated area, but it's better than what they had.
Which was nothing.
Nothing, yeah. It's an improvement, and there is certain members of staff that are really working hard on it, and I've met them at a few events, and they're lovely, they're really great, and they care. But there is certain staff that are there to sort your physical health out, do your X-rays and discharge you. There's not that care and compassion that is promised from a number of staff members, and that really impacts how people are in A&E. And I think your mental health can take a toll on your physical health. So if you're having a panic attack, your heart rate's going to be higher, your blood pressure's going to be higher, and everything's just going to be higher basically, which is going to impact your physical health. And it's all just going to be unbalanced, and you're not getting the care and support you need to look after yourself mentally or physically.
Yeah. I didn't know that our A&E had a quiet space, so it's a step in the right direction, but you're very, very right in the sense that when it comes to A&E, everything's very hectic, and it is a stressful time for a lot of people, especially now with, longer kind of waiting hours and things like that. So definitely trying to advocate more for that side of things is super important. Yeah,
I think it's sort of, obviously it's life over limb, and it's then limb over everything else. So when the things come into A&E that need dealing with first, such as your cardiac arrest, your heart attacks, your hypoglycemia, all of those things are very important to be dealt with first and will come above mental health. However, if there is such a long waiting time for a mental health crisis, there needs to be resources in A&E for those people to be able to be in a safe space, because that is why they're there, because they don't feel safe, or they don't feel like they're safe to be around others. And so they need to provide the resources in that situation so that they are safe and they're not a danger to themselves or anyone else.
Exactly. In terms of talking about the boxes themselves as well, I guess we kind of covered a bit about the needs and gaps that you're trying to address with these boxes. But also my next question is kind of what's included in the boxes? How did you decide what to put in them? Is there input from clinicians, patients, or anyone else as well?
So I have sort of thought about what I'd like in the boxes from my experience and what helps me. So puzzles, colouring books, pens, fidget toys, books, notebooks, and anything else that we believe will support their purpose. The box's purpose, that is. We will be seeking input from patients, and once in contact with the clinicians, we'd like to seek their expertise. However, I think it really needs to come from sort of lived experience, because I could throw a load of things in a box and send it to the ward and it just sit there and it not be used and it not be useful, and that's not what I want to do. I don't want to just put it together and send it there. I want it to be used, and I want it to offer the staff a little bit of relief, because they are rushed off their feet. They don't have the capacity to be able to sit one-to-one with every patient on a ward. It's hard, it's unfortunate, and a lot of the staff wish they did have the time, whereas these boxes are able to give them something that they can give the patient to show they care and to show that they are there for them and they care about their well-being, but also lets them go and deal with the more significant tasks such as observations and monitoring other patients that are big sick, as we call them.
Fine. I guess my next question kind of brings us on to mental health and me again, in terms of where you actually see the foundation in the future, let's say in around 5 years' time.
In 5 years, I'd hope to have a healthy following on social media so that our content is visible to those who need it without them necessarily having to go searching for it. I want to have made a positive impact on as many people as I can and their loved ones, and I want to have implemented strategies and procedures in schools so that every student is supported. I also want to be hosting big events promoting inclusivity, empowerment, support and combating stigma, because I think those things are really, really necessary in this current climate. There's so much stigma that we need to break down. There's so much division, and we need the community to come together for those that actually need our support and need that sense of community. A lot of people don't have a sense of community, and it's really sad. And if we can offer that to them, that's something that we'd love to do. Break down barriers, offer support and guidance, and share lived experience, but also make sure that no one is facing their challenges alone.
I think that's the nice thing in a way about the fact that your team is made up of people who have had lived experiences and can talk about it, to try and highlight the issues as well. Do you have kind of, I guess, a bit more idea of, in terms of research, where you want to go with it as well?
Yeah, so I definitely want to have enough evidence to take the research that I've done through schools into government and show them where the gaps are in education and work with them to be able to change the system for better. I'd also like to have a look at workplaces and how they treat their employees, and what could be done more in there. So I could do a similar questionnaire, but tailored to adults rather than children, and then use that research again.
Yeah, sounds good. And are there any new initiatives or partnerships that you're particularly excited about?
So I mentioned them both a little bit earlier, but I'm very good friends with X-Force for Men, especially their founder Wade, and Mark Crowther, who does a lot for Mind, amongst other charities, and currently hosts Talking Hatters. I would love to do more with both of those.
Yeah.
Not only are we really good friends, but all of our beliefs align. X-Force for Men is a mental health group in Luton that support men with their mental health.
Okay.
And Talking Hatters is a community that come together to discuss football, mental health, anything that's bothering them, their week, just sort of a friendly catch-up. But it gives people a safe space that don't have that safe space.
Yeah, definitely.
So I'd definitely like to do more with them. And I would love to collaborate with Luton Town FC again. I think they were amazing when I met them. They're really, really supportive. They're really community and fan based, and they really care as well.
Yeah. And I guess there's so much work to do in that area as well, which you touched upon earlier. But also just for men in general, I think it's great that there is a group called X-Force. I didn't even know about that, so it's something that I can take forward as well, and something new that I've learned. That people have that safe space around them, because, like you said, it's difficult in this day and age, especially when we're all. I feel like communities now, or rather individuals now, are more focused on themselves, if that makes sense. And we have kind of lost a bit of a community feel.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's always important to have that, because then you feel like, you can talk to at least someone about what's going on. So yeah, how can our listeners support your mission, whether they're educators, parents, or just people who care?
So engaging with us on social media is probably the best way to help boost our content so that it reaches more people.
Mm-hmm.
We're on Instagram as hollyhamill.mh, where you'll find links to our other socials, and we also have a website which is mentalhealthandme.com. Attending our events, which are promoted on these platforms, helps us to be able to push these events out to more people and offer that safe space to those that may not have seen it otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
They may not be able to afford extravagant events or afford to go and meet up with someone in a coffee shop, but our events will always be accessible for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Keeping an eye out for any opportunities to get involved in fundraisers will also be on our website, and that's something that will definitely help us in the future when we need more volunteers and we're working on a bigger scale.
Yeah. Okay. So I think that kind of brings us to a close, I guess, regarding the main topic. It is very, very important that we had this discussion today, I think, because mental health is such a huge topic, and it is something that affects us all in one way or another.
Yeah.
I'm glad that more and more these days, we're getting more comfortable talking about it, but really it's, I guess, moving on to figuring out how we can cover the gaps. And it's great that we have community-led initiatives, for example, like your own, not only through lived experience, but actually trying to look through how we can make things better for the future and for everyone else. So everything that you're doing is so great.
Thank you.
But I guess just a few quick questions to kind of close up what we've discussed today. So when you're not working on the foundation, how do you yourself take care of your own mental health?
I really like to sing. I've been singing my whole life. When I was really little, I actually auditioned for Britain's Got Talent.
Oh, really?
And it's just something that takes my mind away from everything else. Singing's also really good because it stimulates your vagus nerve. So if you're having a panic attack or you're feeling really anxious, if you sing or hum or dance, your brain forgets that you're anxious, basically. And it's a really, really good tool for things like that. But I also just enjoy it in the car, I think. I do like to swim a lot. I haven't been swimming as much as I should be this year. But that's because I've just had so many plates to spin, whatever the saying is. Yeah. And I haven't had enough time to look after myself, which is something I do kick myself for now as we're coming to the end of the year and I'm feeling quite unsettled and overwhelmed. I do need to look after my health more than I am. I spend a lot of time with my family and friends, which is really good, just to have love around me, I think. And my partner, and he's really great with my mental health, which makes a positive impact, because if I was around people that weren't very supportive or weren't very understanding, that has a detrimental effect on how I'm feeling. I also love to watch Luton Town play football. I wouldn't say it's bringing me a lot of happiness right now, but I will always have love for the club, no matter what league we're in or how we're playing, and all the players who time after time come out on the pitch, and we do need to think about their mental health as well. I've seen it firsthand. I've seen the sadness on their faces on the pitch or their heads in their hands, and I just wish that someone could tell them that they're not held on a pedestal. They are okay to be struggling, and they deserve support and they deserve love, and they don't deserve the hate or the abuse that they get from some people who call themselves fans.
Very true. And it's great to know that you've got, you know, so many lovely people around you to help support you, but also that you have, I guess, good hobbies that you can turn to. Do you feel like having hobbies and extracurricular things that people can do kind of helps with the mental health side of things? Yeah,
I would definitely say it supports sort of unwinding. I know for myself at work, I work with a really great team, so I am happy at work, but I do still work in a challenging environment because of the nature of the work that I do. So when I come home, I do need to relax and I do need to unwind before I go to sleep. And I think having those things in between work and bed, such as singing on the way home in the car, or going for a swim, going to meet a friend, spending time with family, or watching a Luton game, all of those things help me to relax from my day at work, put any issues that I've had in the day with my own brain to bed, and prepare for another day.
Yeah, of course. I think unwinding is such an important part. A lot of us, unfortunately, just kind of have work and then we go home and we don't really have the time to unwind. But actually, even if it's taking 10 to 15 minutes to yourself, just kind of thinking about the day and focusing on our breathing, kind of going through it that way, can really help to unwind and kind of switch off from work. I feel like something that I face myself after coming home from work, I'm still thinking about work and still thinking about what happened, and the fact that I have to go back the next day and think about things that I have left to do, when actually once you come home, it's important that we switch off from what we went through during the day and kind of take that time to ourselves. It's something that I'm trying to focus on myself.
It is
whether we're getting there, we'll see. But right, and one more question. What's one book, quote, or resource that has inspired your journey up until now?
I really like the quote, healing out loud because I suffered in silence. That's really inspired me to wear my heart on my sleeve and be a completely open book, in the hopes that people who see my story and our work feel supported, understood, and empowered enough to speak up about their own experiences and what they're suffering.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's quite a profound quote. If you could implement one nationwide change in education tomorrow, what would it be?
Instead of form time, I believe schools should do something focused on well-being and get rid of, or at least reduce, the amount of homework. Why are children doing overtime? That's something that we don't go home from work and take all of our work and go and work from home. We're not being paid to do that. A lot of us will take our struggles from work and dwell on them at home, and that's heavy enough. Children are taking all their struggles from their school day home and then taking work to do at home, which is going to stress them out. Then they're dealing with family life. Then they're dealing with friendship issues, which happens in school. And they've got so much to deal with and so many things going on in their head that's the homework is just taking away their energy for everything else. I think homework is good, maybe a poster or a piece once a week or some revision, but not tons and tons of unnecessary, pointless quizzes or whatever they give you now, because those are just taking time away from the children to be able to go home and unwind and go back to school refreshed the next day.
I see. Perfect. So I guess kind of looking at where we can make changes or improvements and revise kind of how much work we're putting children through. But yeah, thank you so much, Holly, for coming out on today's show. Really do appreciate it and all the work that you're doing. Hopefully, you know, the journey towards improving mental health and kind of where we are with supporting people who are going through mental health difficulties at the moment. Hopefully that journey goes well in terms of implementing different things that we need. And hopefully one day we can fill the gaps that that are kind of there.
I really hope so. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Please do join us again, inshallah, for another health and fitness show. And we'll see you very soon. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.